Good afternoon, this is Jack from the Artchart.net, and this is the intraday recording for Thursday, the 22nd of October. Our disclaimer: we do this for educational purposes only. We're here to share our technical analysis with you. We hope you can take some of what we're doing and learn from it and transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Now, the main reason I'm doing this webinar is to talk about the setup here on equity indices, but I've also got some important stuff to say on precious metals and currencies. So if you're interested in those, stick around after that, but I'm going to do the equity indices first. Okay, now, nice looking bullish wedge here. Now, one thing I was waiting for was a decent trend line on SPX, and there it is. It's nice. It's very nice. We've got 60-minute positive divergence. What we don't have is a full retest of the overnight low, which we probably need. Not always, but probably. And that will also give us some 5-minute positive divergence as and when we see it. So expecting to see that. Won't necessarily see it, but probably are going to. These are nice flags. If you look at the other indices too, flag channel on NDX. Sorry, I pulled the trend lines down, but they're holding perfectly well. We don't need to hit the lower trend line because, of course, we didn't hit the upper trend line. On IWM, we have a possible triangle here. IWM has been the strongest. It hasn't made a lower low under this low here, and it doesn't need to, but it might. We might go down to. I sketched in this trend line as a possible target, and we could be hitting that later. On Dow, 15-minute, I've got a wedge here on the Dow that is underthrowing bullishly, I think. So that's a good sign. And on YM, we have a simply beautiful channel. That's really, really nice. So again, probably needs a retest. Doesn't have to have it, but chances are we're going to get it. So the inflection point is here. Obviously, on the daily middle band, the low today was, I think, 5 handles below the daily middle band on SPX. That is the main support level that we are testing here. And this is a beautiful bull flag setup, and it's probably going to resolve up. If it resolves down, obviously there's always an element that goes against you, but of course we have got a huge news background. Now, in the event that we do go down through it and we flip on to another scenario here, I'm just going to explain that to you quickly. Looking at the SPX chart. Now, I'm not expecting this. 70% we find support here, and we go back and retest the all-time high. But the other 30% is worth bearing in mind, and it might be that news is going to push into it. Now, there are a couple of options here. Here we are. We have a flag. Move up, bull flag within that, chances are it resolves up, and we go and make the first bull flag target at the retest of the all-time high. What happens if we break below the daily middle band? Well, there are two other main scenarios here. One is sometimes you see a flag break up and it makes a lower high, and that's because it's making a larger flag. Now, that flag could come in two likely forms. One would be a triangle, so this would be A, B, C, D, E, then all-time high. Or alternatively, we could be looking, and this would be the more bearish one if obviously if we get some pretty bad news, but basically break and convert the daily middle band, and we're on an alternate scenario, and these are the two most likely ones. The other one is that we're forming a larger flag channel or wedge or so on, and that would be A, B, C. That could take us down to 3150, 3100, and I would note the original target down here in the 3100 area, although we have invalidated that head and shoulders. But it's still something I'd be keeping a slight eye on. We have got 60-minute divergence here. It's not, I'd prefer if the RSI was a little lower, but it's looking pretty good. Altogether, this is a nice bull flag scenario. It's actually going to be the nicest looking low. If it does what I expect it to do next, this could be the nicest looking low that we've seen in months. And the obvious next target on a break up over declining resistance, basically back over the weekly pivot area, will most definitely be a retest of the all-time high, which would be a good thing to see and may in turn be the second high of a much larger topping pattern. Okay, so that's where we are in indices. I would note that in support, DAX and the STX, not hugely important in this circumstance, but note the retest of the lows here and note the 60-minute buy signal fixed on on DAX, and another buy signal fixed on ESTX. Overall, this is a pretty nice looking setup, and it looks good, and it's probably going to deliver. Minuses, news, all news. Obviously the market is watching every moment of the negotiations on the bailout package. Apparently, there's no. I'm hearing mixed signal. I mean, Stan's saying that they're 1.4 trillion apart. That's a long way in the Senate, I think. So we will see. Trump seems pretty committed to getting the job done on this, and I think he's got it right. Although it'd be nice if not too much pork was included in the final bill. Because that's kind of a disease of American legislation, really, pork being added. And it does appear both the last one and this one include an awful lot of pork. So we will see. But I'm hoping an agreement can be reached, and that can give us our all-time high retest. And at that stage, really, we'll be looking for a top. Okay, moving on beyond indices, DX. Now, this is a really, really interesting pattern I found yesterday, and you'll note the really nice support trend line that gives the resistance trend line more weight. This is a potential megaphone. And if this megaphone continues to form, then the next obvious target would be megaphone resistance up in the 9360 area. Now, this is higher than Stan's looking for at the moment, and it may be that we're not going to get there, or it may be that we are going to get there and come back and retest the low and then go. But I want you to bear this in mind because this has a huge impact on precious metals, apart from anything else, and as well as all the other currencies. Now, in terms of let's just do those next. In terms of precious metals, if we go and do that bounce, then it's possible we're going to come back and retest this low. Now, Stan's not expecting it to get as far as that. He's thinking support in the 1900 area, testing now, or in the 1880 area. But if we break that, then we'll be looking at a retest of the low and probably the second low of a double bottom. So going to be watching for that, and potentially we'll get a very, very nice buy entry there. On the currencies, we've got a nice little rising wedge here on euro, which has broken down and maybe heading back for this rising support trend line here in the 1.1715 area. Sell signal fixed, that's already made the possible near miss target, but may well be topping out here. We did have a little head and shoulders, that's more or less made target, maybe just a little lower. And we may go lower still. This, however, was very interesting. I found this on GBP. This is a megaphone, and it's nice, lovely classical resistance trend line. We may be heading back to here, and if dollar's going to do a decent bounce, then we may well be heading back to this 1.2925, and chances are a nice buy entry when we get there. It's all right. Looking at other instruments, ZB. ZB has gone lower. Obviously, as I keep mentioning, the negative inverse correlation between ZB and indices has been a little hit and miss lately, and it's very much a miss here. In the event that we see equities turn, I think we may well find this goes lower still. I wouldn't be that surprised to see that, although we do have some divergence going in the other, on the daily chart going in the opposite direction. On CL triangle broke up. Wait and see what happens here. We've made the minimum triangle target. If we're going to go bullish from here, then what I expect to happen usually is a back test into the triangle, and then a triangle thrust will begin that could actually take us a long way to the north. Wouldn't be surprised to see that. I do have targets considerably higher. Stan is looking for possible retest of this high and then a retracement back to 38 and then go, I think. So we'll see. NG, I've now got some possible 60-minute negative divergence. As I said, we have a possible IHS target in the 4.5 area. It's not a great IHS, but it may be on the way there anyway. And I've got a decent bigger picture target in that area. So watching that with great interest, I would be very wary about being short on anything more than a day trading basis. SI breaking down from the rising wedge here, maybe going significantly lower. Chances are that would be setting up a really nice buy. I'll be watching that particularly. HG, sell signal at the high here. I was thinking we might head back to here. We've made the sell signal target. I've got this target in the 3.13 area. I'm quite liking the test here, and I'm quite liking it holding there. We'll see. Okay, other instruments, USD/JPY. Obviously, we had a hard breakdown from this flag. Seeing a shorter bounce here, which looks like another flag. So bear flag, likely to at least retest this low. The correlation with dollar hasn't been that good here, so really it's been acting semi-independently. USD CAD rallying a bit with the dollar here, might go higher. This could be the second low of a double bottom, of course. I'm not expecting it to be, but worth mentioning. Even if it isn't, what we could do, and would be quite usual, would be to test higher here and then fail. So, you know, the double bottom, break up, inflection point, reject into low. And actually I had a beautiful example of that here. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Lovely little IHS here, breaks up, rejects back into the low, very possibly making the second low of a larger double bottom here. But that was just a beautiful classic delivery of a Janus flag. So, which looks like a reversal pattern, but fails off the break. Okay, let's have a look at Australian dollar. Australian dollar might be a sloppy IHS forming, leaning long on here, but of course if the dollar is going to rally significantly, then we might see some negative action here. NZUSD, I've got a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing here, and if the dollar is going to be rallying more, then obviously we may see some more downside. I'm not really that happy with the pattern set up here. I would like to have some more data for trend lines and see if I can identify what it is. KC has gone lower, as expected. A possible 60-minute buy signal is brewing. We could be making a low here. And actually we should be making a low here. If we don't make a low here, this could actually head down into the 90.85 area. So, but there's a pretty good chance we're going to see a bounce and at least a decent rally. SB, overthrowing slightly over my wedge resistance, and I'm wondering about resistance here, no current negative divergence. CC, this looks like a little flag wedge. So it doesn't have to be. Obviously, we've got an IHS which is broken up with the target in the 2550 area, but if it is, then chances are it's going to break down to retest the low, and I'll be watching this support here in the 2420 area. ZW, possible wedge here. I've sketched it in. We may be heading back to wedge support currently at about the 614 and 615 area. Basically, a good match with the weekly pivot. Corn. Corn might have a wedge here with a slight overthrow. It's not bad. Not great, but not bad. I did have a possible 60-minute sell signal brewing, but I think we might have lost that. Slightly wary of of this not turning and just continuing higher. Soy, I've been expecting to see this retest of the high. We've got it. Could be the second high of a double top. Maybe. Some indications it might be. Cotton, I've got a possible target up in the 76, 78 area. I'm wondering if it's just heading there. We are on a 60-minute sell signal. I'm not taking that particularly seriously at the moment. Live cattle, as I mentioned, we got a possible low forming. Lumber retested the low as expected. Possible second low of a double bottom here. Quite liking a reversal back up here on the daily chart, and that reversal, if seen, could run a very long way and retest the previous high, which is now a long way away. Lean hogs, down sloping head and shoulders, but a nice head and shoulders, beautifully formed. Has broken down with a target in the 63.75 area. Possible support on the way at this rising support just under 65, but at the moment I'm kind of leaning towards it making that target. 60-minute sell signal has reached the possible near miss target, so we've lost the negative divergence, but we will see how that goes. If it gets down here, then it might be heading down to this support here and possible head and shoulder neckline on the 61.25. Okay, what questions have we got today, guys? Right, hopefully we are on the way to the this low retest. That would be very nice to see, and it'd be a bit unkind to get this close and not do it. Stan's thinking that we might see a low as 33.94. Personally, I'm thinking that's a little too low. I'm really looking for a retest of the overnight low and not much more than that, but possibly we might get a bit lower. Any more questions, guys? All right, Stan and I are watching this like a hawk, because apart from anything else, we've been waiting for this one as the first trade we would like to do on the follow the leader system. We'll be watching it. I'll be calling it. If we get a decent setup for reversal, I will be calling that on Twitter, and I'm really hoping that we'll actually see the webinar. FANG webinars after the close. I'm actually hoping we'll actually see that retest today. So obviously it's been kind of slow moving this week. But hopefully we will see that retest today. And yes, the FANG webinar is after the close. I'll be having a post. I'll be getting a post out. But to be honest, there's not going to be a lot in it about this flag that I haven't actually just told you. Because it's easier to tell you in a video format than it is on post format. But I'll be doing a post basically talking about this, and I'll get that out in the next couple of hours. And I'll be mentioning also the FANG webinar for those. FANG got some interesting charts. If you're interested, well worth watching. Although obviously there'll be a recording as always. All right, great. Cheers, guys. Catch you later.